Happy Onewheel Wednesday, everybody. Lily here. I got my green Dirtsurferz shirt on, and I'm super pumped to be here with you all talking about Dirtsurferz this past weekend. It was amazing, and I'm not alone, but this is going to be really fun. We've never done this before. Scott is calling in from where he is, so let's bring Scott in, the wonderful
What's
Scott
happening?
Mendenhall,
It's
and we're
like the
going to get you
delayed version
unmuted.
of me.
There you are. Yeah, what'd you say?
If I
What?
move too fast, you won't catch it. That's how fast I am. But thank you, Lily, for letting me to call in on my own show. It's great.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. I'm seeing people in the chat that I got to meet for the first time at Dirtsurferz, so it's so fun to see their name and actually know what they look like.
Yeah, I love that. I love going to all these events and then putting a face to a name. It's pretty cool. So I never made it to Minnesota. Everyone watching, I never made it. Back in Illinois, we have a family emergency, so didn't ever make it home straight to Illinois to help with our family here, and so that's why we're calling in. Lily, what was your
Yes.
favorite thing about Dirtsurferz?
Oh my gosh. My favorite thing, as sad as it is, I didn't get to race, but my favorite part was that because I didn't get to race, I was at stage 1. I saw every single racer begin their race, which is crazy. Like, so fun. And then I was at stage 8 with the pros, which we're going to hear from Luke in a second. I saw him do that stage, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was super fun to be the first one, that they saw before they started their race.
Yeah, I kept coming over to stage 1, and it was always quiet. You could just sense the nerves of people like, "Oh, how am I gonna do?" And Lily alludes to it was a dirt surfers for all time memory. If those have not followed social media, Nick Payne and Rachel Payne, our lovely friends, they're amazing humans. They both got injured.
Mhm.
Nick being injured to take him out to where he couldn't even run, coordinate the race, which it, I don't know even how it got. I don't know if I was just the dumb one to go, I'll run it, which it just fell on our shoulders to run, which hopefully we did Nick and Rachel proud, and we made Dirtsurferz run almost as good as them, but that meant we weren't filming. We were doing all the crazy things that they did on the hillside of the great passion play. One
Yeah,
for the memory books,
it
for
really is.
sure.
It really is. It was so much fun. It was so much
I,
fun.
I've got to say, I gotta say, being out in the middle of the woods on stage 8 was probably one of my memories. Watching all the pros do this feature that just it just separates. It just shows you why they're all pros in the fact that they were willing to hit it. I'd have walked right over it. I'd have pulled up on it and said, "Nope, scale for life." When with Lily and I say scale for life, that means we'd like to run or work out at CrossFit and not die doing this. And if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, I drop shorts from there from those clips.
Yes.
Every I mean, it's fun to watch, but it's precarious. There was a tree right away. You jumped over this rock feature into a 90-degree switchback, and man, some did it awesome. Someone I don't even know who it was. They shouted, "I've never rode this course before!" as they hit the feature, and then they smacked their face on a tree. I was like,
What?
"Well, that's what you get for not
I wish
pre-running
I
it."
knew
Yeah,
who
yeah.
that was. That's
Oh
funny.
man.
I love that they admitted to it.
Yeah, but then I also thought, well, that's why we had an issue at that moment because they never pre-wrote it. I think that's at the
Right.
time Adonijah came on behind them. It was a little bit of like, what is happening here?
Yikes.
So shout out for this sweet jersey, by the way.
Yeah.
This was given to me.
Yeah,
And
Chameleon
just
Rails was like, "How did you get that?"
yeah. Seriously, some of the coolest riders, Jafari's uncle and dad, Stoke monks. They run
Oaks.
a board shop in board shop in Hawaii. I don't fully know it all. It's just sick. I said, that jersey's awesome. How do I get one of those?
That was all you did?
I have one.
Wow.
Yeah, they were super kind. Super kind, honestly. They go, oh, it's going to cost as much. I was like, all right, I have Venmo you the money. They came up by Sunday evening. It was like, no, you did such a great job keeping the race going. We just want to give it to you.
That's
So a super
awesome.
kind gift from those guys. They're good racers. I'm always trying to
Yeah.
catch them. Can't catch them.
Yeah, one of those guys is
So,
like always on the podium in his division. I don't know which one.
yeah. That's Jafari's uncle.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
fast. Okay,
He's super fast.
that's the I mean, there's so much to be talking about from dirt surfers and things. Today we're pretty amped to have Luke Austin, who won both sides of the race, which is on Saturday. He raced 9 stages, and you have to ride them in order 1 through 9. He won it. So that means he was on top of the podium, killed it. Then the next day, he raced again, and he had such a good time that he was the overall dirt surfer champion for the men. He got the top hat and everything.
Yep.
Walked away with $2,500. We're honored and privileged to have him sitting with us today. He's again elevated his game. I think he was 2 minutes faster on one of those days. Luke will have to give us all these details, but he's fast, okay? There's fast and then fast. He's finding a little spot up there at the top. He's fast. If you can think back all the way to the ORL race, do you remember, Lil, when he did that epic pass on the bridge?
Oh, I remember. It was awesome. We were
This
yelling.
dude, like, we were screaming from the office watching it. This guy's got a set of I don't know. This is a PG channel, so we can't say it, but he's not afraid. Fear is not a problem
You
for
can
him.
say like
He sends
the
it.
Spanish word. You can hear him laughing in the background.
You can hear the chuckles in the back. So, but we're stoked to have this guy that is setting the standard of writing it, and his name, full send it. Luke, I believe, is his name on Instagram. He's sending it all the time. We'll have to ask why he didn't do the drop zone this year, because he didn't. Everyone, this is the reigning champion, two-time champion at Dirtsurferz. He knows how to ride a one wheel. He knows how to pass. He knows how to ride it with hooks and without hooks. This guy is a pro's pro. Everyone, this is Luke Austin.
All right.
You, let's go. Hey, everybody, what's up?
Hey, Luke.
How we doing, Luke?
Doing great, man. Living the life.
Okay, Luke, living the life. What is that? Because you're being paid to ride a one wheel now.
Right. Yep. 100%
Yeah.
quit my job at the end of February and
Wow.
took up one wheeling as a pro rider full time.
What does a day look like now for you? Like a normal day?
Um, just chores around the house, you gotta stay up on those. But I do some social media work. I still do some CAD work on the side for side jobs. I help out a couple buddies here and there, but most of the time, any chance I get, I'm one wheeling, going out riding trails, practicing,
Wow.
tuning the board, fine tuning some of my gear, making sure everything's dialed in, ready for the next race.
Wow.
Yeah. You got it dialed in. The biggest thing people keep talking about, and we should talk about it just because everyone talks about it, is all the gear you wear. Like you posted months ago that it's a substantial amount of weightage you're putting on your body, right? Isn't it like
Yeah,
close to
yeah.
100 extra pounds of gear?
Not quite that much, but it is about 20 pounds of gear. So I'm, dry weight or 136, and then when I'm geared up, I'm 158. So
Yeah.
Whoa.
pretty
I mean,
substantial.
I I told you, Luke, at Dirtsurferz this year, my kids refer to you as when you gear up with all your gear on, that you look like a superhero. You're like, you need to come up with an alter ego for your pro self. Your
Right.
average Joe self is just Luke. We need you to have a pro one wheeler name that people like, like Optimus Prime kind of deal.
Right,
What,
sure. Yeah, I'll have to work on that. I'm
what
not
should
sure whether
your
that would be a good name.
Well, let's spitball really quick, Luke. What would be one idea you would like to maybe, let's work on this. What would be a good name? Like, you can't take Optimus Prime because that's taken, but
Yeah,
it's got to be
right.
like a Transformer style, I think.
Yeah, I think the Transformers names idea would be good. I'm
Okay,
not sure what we
I
could
get.
be considered though. I'm terrible with coming up with names on the spot.
Okay, you're gonna leave it to Lily, myself, and my kids to come up with it. So we'll make
All right,
a
let me
post
know.
at some point with you sending it. You can
Sweet,
put in
sounds
the chat if
awesome.
you want a good name for this guy. Um, okay, well, hey, I'm gonna let you guys go since I'm in the middle of nowhere. Cicadas are hitting me in the back, and I'll let Lily chat with you, Luke. I just wanted to say hello to everybody. Luke, thanks for being on today. Lily, thanks for running
Heck
point.
yeah.
Absolutely excited
Have a
for
good
it.
one, okay?
You too,
Bye.
man.
Bye.
All right. As we let him go, I saw in the chat, Haley, that my mic needs to come up a little. So yeah, you just push it up. We got a new tech person today. It's so good. Okay, he's gone. I have a
Um,
list of questions for you, Luke, but one of the first
okay.
thing he did mention was the drop comp. So were you there? I didn't see you participating. You did it last
Yeah, I was
year.
there. Right, right. Yeah, I did it last year. I was there. I watched it and was spectating. Nico and Chabra were just going absolutely huge on their sends,
Yes,
like
they were.
full speed into that drop. It was awesome to watch. All the competitors did great work, but those two really stood out with how much speed they were carrying into it.
Yeah, how come you didn't participate?
Last year, I ended up kind of twisting my ankle on it, and that took me out of racing for a couple weeks back home.
Mm.
So I didn't want to risk it this time. I need to be able to continue practicing and really focus on racing this year.
Yeah, if any of you that are watching saw this competition, it's crazy. I'm surprised to hear that all you did was twist your ankle because these people are like laying their lives down for this.
It's
This
really intense looking.
it's
Honestly, when I was
so
when you guys threw the pizza party on Saturday night, there was a replay reel there showing all the footage from last year's drop zone contest, and there
yeah.
was one of the jumps was me launching through the air after we had set the jump up on top of the drop. And I was getting so much air just flying through the air. It honestly scared myself rewatching it. I was like, oh, that's insane. I should probably not do that this year.
Oh man, I'm glad we could help you. Yeah, so speaking of that, that was one of my favorite parts of the weekend. I'm glad you dropped by to get some pizza, Luke. We got pizza
Absolutely.
for every single racer and we invited everyone to come out. And if you didn't know, Nick got hurt. Nick Payne, he runs the whole event, and we weren't expecting this to happen. And Luke, I don't know, I'm guessing you were there for this part, but Nick arrives
Yeah.
while we were all
Right.
gathered, and the
Yep.
whole entire room stood up, cheered for Nick. I mean, it must have
It
been
was
like
so
2
awesome.
minutes, right, Luke?
Right.
Of
Yeah, it was
just
super emotional, honestly, watching him come in, seeing him come
so
back. He was crying. He was so choked up. It was awesome rewatching it
yeah,
and being there,
so emotional, and it just showed how great this community is, like truly.
Right.
Is that something that you appreciate about One Wheeling? Like, what is the community like for you specifically? I know
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got all your sponsors
Absolutely.
and stuff, but is that like a huge piece of this for you?
Yeah, that's really what kind of drew me in initially when I first started racing is I went out to my first race down Wheel Scorcher and all the competitors, even the top level guys are super nice, super inviting. They'll show you the lines, they'll take you out riding. It's just so cool to be able to ride with those guys. I had been watching them for a while and then be able to go ride with them and then they're also inviting and kind people, it seems like. It's really just an awesome environment to be in.
Yeah, it is. It's so special. I'm seeing in the chat that my mic's cutting in and out, but I can't. I don't know the solution, so we're just gonna carry on.
It seems to be
um,
coming through clear on my end.
Good. Okay, good. Maybe it's the Wi-Fi. So you won the Enduro. That was the goal, I'm guessing. You punch your ticket
Yep.
to race for the rail. How
hmm
how relieving was that? Did you find out when you printed your receipt, or yeah? Give
Actually, I
us a
printed the
rundown.
receipt. So yeah, I hit all my lines. I did all the segments. I definitely took my time hitting all nine of them. I stopped and charged every two segments, basically. Even if I showed up to the next segment with 75%, I would just go back and charge, just get it really topped up to 100% before I started, just so I wasn't risking
Yeah.
anything,
Let me
had
let me
absolutely
interrupt
everything on
you
my side.
there. So, do you know how long all 9 stages took you? Like from you
Yeah,
started stage 1. Or I'm curious. Yeah, I want
I
to know
got the ticket.
I want to. Yeah, that's awesome. I want to know both numbers. So if you've never raced before, you get a ticket. At least for enduro races, you get a ticket just like
Yeah.
this that gives you the time it took you to do every single stage. So 22 minutes and 49 seconds. That's amazing. But Luke, how
Yeah.
long would you say the day was from when you started stage 1 to ended stage 9 with all that charging in
Oh,
between?
so with stopping and charging in between and resting, I think I finished my race at, let's see if it actually has a time on here. That'd be sweet. No, it doesn't. But I think I finished it around 2:30. I think we had until 4 to run.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long day.
Yeah, it was a long day. I did definitely pace myself, but I made sure I was hitting all the segments with as much energy as I could.
Nice. So this is going to be fun for those who raced, and if you didn't race, hopefully he'll give you enough imagery to follow along. But what would you say your favorite segment was and your least favorite segment?
Favorite segment was, let's see, probably segment 5, just because you can go so fast through it.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
did come off on it. I had stepped off my board on that one, but it was just a fun, flowy segment. Maybe my second runner up would be segment 3, takes you into Passover. And that Passover trail has a bunch of big jumps and doubles through it you can air. And it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I also love segment 5 because of how fast you can go, especially through that section of trees that are
Right. Oh,
really
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
I
that's
know what you're talking
awesome.
about for sure.
Super cool. So we talked about how you're no longer working. That's like some one wheeler's dream right there. So it's
Oh,
so
yeah. It
cool.
was my dream for sure. I saw Austin and Mercedes Silva do it, and I'm like, started thinking about it. I raced for a year. It's always in the back of my head. And then finally, I just say, I've been saving up money and finally I pulled the trigger. I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm going to go full
That's
on run wheel.
that's amazing. And honestly, it shows how much the sport is progressing. And I'm sure that people will follow suit really, really
I
shortly
hope
here.
so.
So why don't we're
Yeah,
gonna
that'd
put
be
you
sweet.
we're gonna put you full screen, no pressure here, because I want
Yeah.
to figure out my mic situation. I think I have an idea of what's
Yeah.
wrong. So tell us about the sponsors that you have. Tell us in
Hmm.
detail like who they are, and I also want to know: are you looking for more sponsorships? And
Hmm.
then is that the main way you're able to do what you're doing? So this won't take me long, I
Right.
promise. But tell us about
Okay.
your
Sounds good.
sponsors.
Yeah, for sure. For my primary title sponsor, what I'd say is my gold sponsor is Dynavap. They provide me basically with all the entry fees and a lot of help on travel and lodging expenses. And they kind of approached me a while back talking about starting a team, asked me if I was interested to be a part of it, and I was stoked. Absolutely. I mean, they had offered everything that I was looking for to help me kind of push this career to where I wanted it to go. So it was a good match. So I definitely was stoked to be invited to be a part of that team. And then second up is Armadillos. They provide, tire sealant and again, more funds just to help me get to these races and travel and lodging and stuff. Then I have the Float Life. They provide a lot of nice parts, specifically the dovetail rails, which I use. I got the XL dovetail rails, and they provide enough clearance that you can run a BTG tire. So the 11.5 by 7 by 6 tire. Um, and with that, that tire is just awesome. So XL rails by the Float Life dovetails are a really nice setup for this really chunky downhill terrain that Dirtsurferz had. um,
I'm here,
then I
Luke.
also
I'm
have
listening.
you're good. You're good. Yeah, I also have Team Def Punks. They provide again more funds just to get to these races, jerseys, and support for different parts and services available within the Onewheel community. So yeah, they're awesome support group that I have working with me. I have a bunch of BFF sponsors I call, and they provide just some services or parts, and I give them a shout out here and there. But yeah, it's a pretty big list, so I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately.
That's awesome. Honestly, I wish this sounds so weird. I'm at Scott's mic now. Hopefully that's better. Um I wish I heard all that you said because I actually am very interested, but I will have to go back and watch. So, let me know if this is better. If you're watching in the chat, Luke said that it's fine for him. So, hopefully that's better.
Hmm.
And if it's not, then
Sounds good.
we're just going to roll with it. So, I love hearing that you are solo for one wheeling. One thing I did want to ask when we were talking about that, you're in Michigan, right? That's where you
Right.
live?
Yep.
Are do you feel like that's the prime place for a pro one wheeler to live, or is there anywhere in your mind where you're like, I'm already doing this full time? What if I move to a place where their trails are like pristine for what I need.
Right. Yeah, that's I've definitely been thinking about it a lot over the last year. I'm not exactly sure where I would move to yet, but it would be ideal, obviously, if I can move somewhere where the trails are open year round.
I was gonna
Right
say,
now,
yeah, all year.
anytime I'm riding in the wintertime, it's an indoor skate park somewhere, or we're traveling a long ways south to try to get some dry
Wow.
trails.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're in a relationship, right? Your girlfriend was there this past weekend.
Yep. Her
Is
name's Sarah.
she
She helps
Sarah?
me a ton.
That's amazing. Is she up for
Oh
moving?
yeah.
Like is that something that might be in the cards for you guys?
Yeah, sounds like it. She's got a job here, but she could easily transfer to another location. And if we find a nice place that suits us, that would be ideal for
That's
both
awesome.
of us. Then I think it'd be definitely in the cards.
So put this in the chat too if you're watching. But Luke, I want to know your top 3 places you would live based on trail. Like, what do you think is the best? Like, I'm in the same boat living in Minnesota. I'm not a person that's gonna move to go solo one wheel full time, but I have an idea of where I would go if I was to do that. But I want to know we have someone watching today from New Zealand. I want to know, where would
Wow.
you move to get or are they your backyard? That's what I want to know. So hopefully people
Right,
put
right.
that in the chat. But what would you say top 3?
Top three places to move, I'd say either Texas, California, or Colorado.
Texas is number 1, or is that in no particular order?
No particular order.
Okay.
Probably
Because
Colorado would be number one if I could find a nice southern location that's still pretty warm year round.
yeah. Have you ridden out there?
I've ridden a little bit out there, not as much
Okay.
as I'd like to, though.
I've never ridden out there. I've ridden in Texas at the Lemonade. Were you there too? I think you were.
Yeah, yeah, I was
Yeah.
there. Yep.
I did not like those trails at all. So so
I
that's
mean, I
a
thought they were pretty decent, honestly.
wow.
I wasn't expecting amazing trails when I went there, but the trails we were racing on were a lot pretty fun, pretty quick. But yeah, I think there's a lot of other locations that probably would be, hopefully would be better. But again, Texas was just picked because of the weather.
Yeah, true. It's nice and warm there. Some people say so.
Right.
The guy watching in New Zealand says Rotorua, New Zealand. I have no idea where that is. I'm guessing that's not where he lives. We got redwoods in California. Um, this guy's saying he's from Florida. It's too flat. Yeah, I would say get out of Florida if you want to ride trails.
Right, right.
Colorado Springs, someone says. Maybe that's
I've heard good
southern.
things.
Yeah. And North Central California. A lot of good places that are moderate temps most of the year. Yeah, I would say California would be on my list. Probably Nevada
Yep.
because I love that state and I'm guessing there's good trails there. I've not been to Let It Ride, but
Yeah.
there's also Lake Tahoe, over
Right.
there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
and you're
It's
so
gorgeous
close.
area for sure. I've ridden
Yeah.
Lake Tahoe a few times, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and you're so close to California, so you could just pop over there.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see if that's in the cards for you someday. So let's transition back to the race. Let's talk about the excursion race. So for those of you who don't
Okay.
know, Saturday we did the Enduro, which is what we were talking about with Luke, that there's 9 stages for people like me, amateurs. We raced 7. So 9 is a whole lot. 9 was, from what I heard from the ladies, was too much. They were worn out by the end of the day. And then they rested up, and then Sunday there was an excursion race. So Luke, so they don't get tired
Right.
of hearing my voice. They don't get to hear yours as much. What is the excursion race? How long was it? What did you think about it? And I have a few more questions after you share a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. The excursion race is I think it was 7 mile race or
Mm.
6.9 mile race, A to B race at Dirtsurferz down in Eureka Springs. They basically go through every single one of the segments we had been racing prior. They add a few extra in to tie it together, but excuse me. Yeah, I think it's a great race. I absolutely love the excursion race. The mass start is insane. Like
Yeah.
everyone going right off the bat, just flying, and it's just wild to watch and to be a part of. But I barely was able to snake through Nico going down. I'm sure quite a few people have saw those videos,
Yeah, so
but
where were
made
you?
it through
Like,
clean.
where were you regards I've seen so many videos. I've shown people the video because it's so crazy.
Right.
Multiple videos. Where were you like in
Right.
regards to Nico?
When Nico went down, I think I was 3 people maybe behind him. Austin was to his right.
Hmm.
Maybe I was just 2 people behind him because I think Jafari or who was it that was in front of me? I don't recall exactly who was in front of me. I think Les ended up going down, but he was right behind me. But maybe regardless, yeah, it was. I ended up coming out, I think third out of the after the wreckage, and
So was
got
your
into the
goal
woods.
like I feel like everyone's goal is to get the whole shot? Is that kind of how it is? I've never done a mass start
Yeah,
race.
everyone's
I don't
goal.
know.
Absolutely.
Everyone's goal. So then that makes me want to ask, does it matter where you line up?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So
So are you
trying to
guys
get
like
from after
fighting to like line up in the best spot? Like how does
kind
that
of,
happen?
but they're pretty, cordial about all of it. But yeah, there's
So
definitely guys
right
like, hey, can
now.
I squeeze in here? Hey, can I squeeze in here? But
Wow.
it's fun, it's kind of jockeying for position, trying to get as lined up as close as possible at that, bottleneck point, and try to get that whole shot.
Yeah, that was crazy. So Austin ends up getting it. So a whole shot, for those of you who don't know, is like the very front. So you do this mass start race, and they were lined up. What do you think, Luke? Like 30 feet of one wheelers, like
Oh
or
yeah, at least
longer,
yeah,
at
for
least.
30. How many racers were in it total? Do you remember?
I don't know,
Let's
but
see here.
the pro men was the most exciting one because there were so many of you
Right,
at
right. I
the
think there's
start.
it had to be at least 40, 50 people in that race at the start line. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
so they're all there. Luke and Nico, who you're hearing, who had a big spill because his one wheel nosedive. He was on a Vesk, right?
Yeah,
We'll get him on here eventually to talk about this. And then
for
there's
sure.
Austin, who was right there in the mix too. And Nico would have had the whole shot had he not nosedived. And then
Right.
Austin squeezed forward. What do you think
Yeah.
Austin was riding? Like most of us know he was probably on a one wheel stock board, but
Right.
what do you think it was the power of this new GTS that got him that whole shot?
I don't know, honestly. I mean, word on the street is he may have been riding something other than just a stock GTS,
I've heard about
but
that word on the street.
I'm
That's why
not.
I wanted to
I'm
see
not
if you.
sure if I'm not sure how how much information is available out there and what is allowed to be said and whether or not he's riding. Right.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's all I can say.
Yeah, I heard that rumor as well, so I wanted to see if you knew anything. Scott is so much better at the drama than I am. He would be like, what do you think about this?" So, anyways, he
Sure,
put that
sure.
he helped me come up with some questions, so he wanted to hear about that.
Okay.
But
Very nice. Very
I
nice.
heard the same thing, and I was like, "Dang, that's pretty cool." That if it's
Yeah,
true, that it was worth testing. Because I was even
for
surprised
sure.
to see him doing the excursion. So, pretty cool. It
I mean,
is
it's a fun
exciting.
race. It's hard to avoid doing it. It's
Yeah.
get to ride basically through the woods with all the fastest riders at once, neck to neck, like bottlenecking through everything. You get to yell and jabberjaw
Yeah.
with one another while we're running through the trail. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and on that, I'm pretty surprised to hear about how often, like at least first through third place switched out. Because I think at one point I had
Right?
heard Jafari was in first. So what's that
Yeah.
like? I rode the excursion trail just to sweep people out and make sure that everyone was safe. So I know exactly like I know there were good passing opportunities, but I also know that a lot of it, like they would have had to get out of the way. So
Right.
what's the vibe of that like when you're actually the one in the midst of it?
Excuse me. So yeah, the when you I guess I came into the woods in third place. And then right after we got into some chunk, Austin lost it. I hit his board. I lost it. And so we are going to get pushed back maybe to eighth
Mm,
place or something like that. So then I
dang.
was cutting up through people. And when you're behind a long train of people like that through the single track line, I mean, there's really no opportunity to pass. All you can do is say, go faster, get up there,
Are
let's
people
go,
doing
close
that?
the gap,
People
push.
are
Oh,
doing
yeah,
that?
yeah, for sure.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I
yeah.
wish I could experience it without having to be physically there.
Right, yeah. It's pretty intense. Like, I mean, people want to get by you if they're behind you, right? But if you're behind someone and there's no good passing opportunity, the only thing you can do is just say, "Hey, man, trying to get by. Please get over." Enduro.
and
Like,
and they
it's
do
like
or
there's
they
nowhere
don't.
I can really. Right, exactly.
Like
And
some people
basically
really
what you're
don't get
asking them is
over.
to stop to get over. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's very rare that people get over
Okay.
unless you've got a significant margin in skill set between the two. So when I was behind a couple people that I was clearly a faster rider than, they let me they let me go by. But when I got into, like, the top five
Wait.
racers,
In
basically,
that
they're all
in that moment when you're like clearly like, and I get it, I totally respect that. Do they know who's behind them in the moment, or do you have to make it known?
but typically I yell at them like, "Hey, get out of the way! I'm right behind you. I
Yeah.
need to get through." And most of the time, or at least a few of the guys would look back to see who it was and be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead, man."
Yeah, because I feel like if I knew it was you behind me, it would be like no problem. But if it's just like some other guy who's on my level, I might not want to get out of the way, you know? So I wouldn't say it's a,
Exactly.
a bad thing to make yourself known, but also at the same time, I feel like that might feel a little weird to be like, it's Luke Austin,
Right.
get out of the way.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It definitely would be weird.
Yeah.
But most of the time, people were being cordial about getting out of the way until you get
Yeah.
to, like I said, the top five racers or top
Yeah.
six guys are all really battling for first place. So
Yeah.
it's
So
pretty
then what
cutthroat.
happens when you're at like the top 5?
Um, so then you're basically just riding behind them as close as possible to push them as hard as they can go until they mess up. And then they make one mess up, they fall off the board, lose the board, hit a nosedive, and then you're able to squeeze around.
And that's what happened. That's
Yeah, it's just
crazy.
it's an endurance race, so people's legs are getting
Truly.
super fatigued by the end of it, and I was definitely feeling tired by the end of it. But I trained for endurance and stuff too, so I was prepared for that race.
So you and Jeff Adair, Jeff got first, you got second. You guys were able to
Yep.
manage to stay on your board. Did you finish right behind Jeff? Did you
Yep, I
see?
finished 11 seconds behind him. At one point, I wasn't first for quite a long time. I had started making a pretty big gap between me and the group. And then my board was giving me haptic feedback on like every little bump and hill I was hitting. I was like, this shouldn't be doing it. I think it's going to overheat any moment. So I was like bent over while I was riding. I had a camelback on my back with water in it. And I was just rinsing basically the axle blocks because I got thinned axle blocks. So I was able to run water across the axle blocks to help
What?
cool the motor down.
That's
Yeah. So
crazy. While you
so
were
then as I'm
riding.
doing, yeah, yeah. So I definitely had to slow down because I was kind of half
Yeah,
paying
you would have
attention to what
been,
I was doing and
yeah,
riding.
you would have
So,
slowed down a
but
lot.
then yeah, Jeff came up behind me. I started catching up, and I looked back. I yelled to him like, "Want to get by, bud?" He says, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, give me a second to get over." So I squeezed over. I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm overheating." And then he got by. I told him, "Don't get more than a 2-minute gap,"
Yeah.
because that's what
So
I needed for the
where,
Dirtsurferz hat.
right? Where would you say you were? I don't even know if you'd be able to remember. How far away from the finish were you at that point?
We were about three-quarters of the way through when he got by me. Maybe,
Okay.
well, I guess let's see, right at the top of 7, Crown of Thorns,
Okay.
basically. I think as we were climbing up one of the trails to get there, I started having an overheating issue, and he was able to get around me before we got. No, that's not accurate, actually. I remember rewatching the video this morning. We made it into Crown of Thorns first, so
Mm.
sometime after that. But
Wow.
yeah, we were a good portion of the way through the race, and then I let him by, and then I just stayed close to him for the rest of the race and kind of made sure my board didn't overheat. I think he was trying to do the same thing. He wasn't pushing super hard. So
Yeah.
it's a good,
Wow.
nice ride to the finish.
I feel like so many people from that race have a story like this. Like just
Yeah,
enough time for a story to be written, you know? That's
right, yeah.
wild.
It was
Wow.
cool. It was a long race. I think my total time was 27 minutes, 52 seconds. So it's almost a full 30 minutes of hard pushing racing.
Yeah. And that time alone is super impressive. People are finishing in 40 minutes, you know? So that's
Right.
awesome. Yeah. And I bet
Yeah.
people were concerned too about their boards because it was like 88 degrees and it's a long
It was a
race.
hot day.
So
Yep.
Man, that's wow. I love hearing the
Definitely
behind
had
the
a lot of
scenes.
people overheat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I love hearing the behind the scenes of that story. So, did you race the same board that you did on Saturday? And
Yep,
what are you
GTS both
racing?
days.
GTS. Do you have any
It's
type
a
of rails on there?
Yep, I'm rocking the Float Life Dovetail XL rails, so I can use the BTG 11.5 by 7 by 6 tire.
Yeah.
And then I have a 6-inch billet wheel on there, so that I can use that tire as well. And the ice blocks, so that also helps rotate your axle 90 degrees to add strength.
And that is that what you were pouring water on? Yeah.
Yep. So they turn your axle 90 degrees and they're finned on the outside to help with cooling. So just spraying water on it definitely
Wow.
helps cool it down
So
pretty quick.
is that the main reason you wore the Camelback?
Honestly, I had just had the Camelback because I needed water. It was,
Wow.
a long race, and I wanted to make sure I had water at the finish line because I was going to be dying.
So
But
it came in
but it
clutch for your
came in,
wheel.
yeah, definitely
Dang.
did. Like I was riding, and I was like, man, I need something to cool this wheel down with. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use. And I was like, oh yeah, just use the water on my back. It's easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you ride
Yeah, it worked
foothooks
out.
right over the
Yeah,
weekend? Overlanders?
overlanders. Yep,
Okay, I
yep.
thought so. So last year, after you won, I think it was Dirtsurferz, I'm guessing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you switched
Yep,
to riding a stock board to train for Race for the Rail. Is that right?
right. Yep, yep.
So is that the plan now?
I'm not going to probably not doing that this year, at least not yet. I still
Okay.
got to hit one more premier race, and I want to make sure I'm placing really well there just for overall points for the season.
How what
I
is
think
that
I'm going to be going.
what does that benefit since you already punched your ticket?
So overall points for the season could be the season champion that is crowned at Float Life Fest.
Okay.
Jafari got it last year, and if I did extremely well the next 3 races, then I might be able to have an opportunity to get it this year.
So that's just another award-winning thing at Float Life Fest, which is in September. Is there a cash
Right.
prize for that, or what's the incentive other than the win?
No, there's really no incentive other than being crowned the season champion. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I
basically
get
it.
it. If you quit your day job to do this, let's get on the podium and the top as much as
Exactly.
possible. So I
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Got to make it
get
worth
it.
it, right?
Yeah. So you'll keep riding that board you just described to us for,
Yep.
I'm guessing, are you going to be at Seek and Shred, which is
I
the
think I'm
next
going to be at
race,
Seek and
right?
Shred.
Okay.
Still got working out the details on how to get there and where I'm going to be staying when I get there. But yeah, I'm trying to make it happen for sure.
And that's the next race coming up. And then we've got,
Yep.
I know we have the list here, but I'm short people. So
Let's see
anyways.
here. I think after Seek and Shred, it's going to be the Eastern Regional Qualifiers at Canuga, which is Wheel Scorcher.
Oh yeah,
And
Wheel
then
Scorcher.
and then after that is Float Life Fest in September, and then hopefully Race to the Rails somewhere in there.
Somewhere in between. Are you going to be at Wheel Scorcher as well?
Yeah, I'll be at Wheel Scorcher for sure.
Awesome. Do you like that? That's another enduro race, correct? Are you there? The headphones are dying.
Okay. My earbuds died.
No worries.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely be at Eastern Regional. I really like Canuga Bike Park. They had it there last year or 2 years ago. It was a sweet bike park, tons of cool trails, and the head-to-head racing at the end is down this really sweet course that has a bunch of doubles. That the year that I went and raced, I ended up getting 8th place on because I cased it real bad on the first double, hit it too
Wow.
hard. But this year we have a little more confident and locked in. I think we have enough power to be able to actually gap those doubles in the head-to-head race.
That's awesome. That's so fun.
Awesome.
So fun.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I would love to get out to one of those races. So as we wrap up, we have so many one-wheelers in this chat today that aren't racers, but they love one wheel and they love the community. They're here often. And we want to talk a little bit about where does Luke Austin think the sport is heading as a whole. Spoke a little bit about it with Scott earlier, but do you think that you could see the races having more divisions, like just for foot hooks, and then those people have to gap these, certain obstacles or or features or whatever, where do you see it going and where do you hope to see it go as someone who is obviously it's changed their life, it's changed their what they do for a living, and so many people want to know what you think is going to come of this sport.
Sure. It's going to be pushed towards bigger jumps, gnarlier features, being able to go harder. You're going to have to wear more gear, but being locked in with the hooks allows you a lot more control. The board is always right at your feet. I feel like it needs to go there to help expand the sport quicker, but that could be a division just for, no foothold riding. But I think the foothold riding is just going to be so much more entertaining to watch because people are willing to push it harder,
Mm.
go over big obstacles, get huge air gaps and massive gaps, and it's just going to be super entertaining to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of willingness you have, even like when you go from no safety gear to safety gear, like it's so drastic what the comfortability you have. And I'm sure I've ridden foot hooks a little bit, but when you even get those in and can learn how to ride them without getting caught in the board, and actually
Mhm.
learn to use them for
Right.
the way you do and the way so many people do, I can imagine that creates this excitement to just push it even harder. So
Yeah.
that's
Tons of
awesome.
gets gained by gearing up for one, and then being able to save yourself from a lot of those falls by using the overlanders. You'll pull up on the board rather than allowing it to just kind of bounce where you are, and hopefully you're on top.
Yeah.
It's so game changing. It kind of opens your mind to a whole different style of trail riding, and it's sweet. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, for sure. But either way, wherever it goes, Luke, are you all in?
I'm all in, absolutely. Either way, for sure. But I think the footholds are definitely the move. It's just going to be so much more entertaining.
That's awesome. I love it. Luke, you're so non-confrontational about it, where we'll have some people on here that like are pitching their reason one way or another, and it's fun. But man, to be
Right.
here alone today, if I were to have that, I would be like, okay,
No, I,
So I
I like
appreciate it.
it. We all should be racing together and riding together. We don't need any exclusions or any kind of barriers or boundaries for entry at this point. It's such a new sport. We need to get as many people in as we can and any kind of board that they want to ride. And let's shred.
Yeah, you are so right. Well, as we wrap this up, there's people here who racing to them is like, I'll never do this. I own a one wheel, I have a Pine or I have a GT, and it's just for fun. What
Sure.
words would you have to say to them, even to just get more involved in the community, as someone who's way far past just like a cruiser?
Okay. To trying to get involved in the community. Group rides are a good way to meet, obviously, a lot of your local people that are hosting these events. And then with that, once you get to know them and meet them, you can volunteer at the event to help host and help, with the races like Scott Mendenhall and friends did wonderfully at Dirtsurferz. Thank you so much for you guys' help. It was
Yeah,
awesome to see
it was fun.
races at the start of each one of the gates and cheering us on. It was awesome. Thanks a ton. But yeah, try to help your local community and local events. Get out there, volunteer. Every event needs volunteers. Guaranteed that you reach out, they're gonna say yes to come on out and help. So
Yeah, it's
try to
so
do
true.
that. That helps all the racers out too, and then gives you a first-hand experience of what all the racers are going through, what the race courses kind of look like, and get you kind of first-hand experience without actually having to be in the race.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I completely agree. Being at these races are so much fun and everyone's so friendly. So, even the ones on the podium, they're approachable and fun to talk to, including you, Luke, and it's just a really, really awesome time. So, hopefully that intrigues you if you're watching and you're like, this stuff scares me, but I watch the podcast every Wednesday. So, Luke, thank you so much for being on and bearing with us as Scott came in from afar. If you came in late, Scott was at the very beginning. So if you came for that energy that he always brings, just rewind and hear why he came in from afar today. And if you pray for people, his father-in-law needs lots of prayers coming up in the next week. He shared why at the beginning. So otherwise, we are super excited for your journey, Luke. We'll be watching Race for the Rail. Starting yesterday, started to make plans on how to get there. So I'm so excited to see you race for the rail. Congratulations. Is there any final? Yeah, let's go. Are there any final thoughts as we sign off today?
Just, huge shout out to my sponsors for making this happen. And I'm stoked to be able to make it to Race for the Rail again. This year's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
It is going to be a good one. Well, you can catch Luke hopefully at Seek and Shred in Northern California coming up this June. And otherwise, if you are local to this area, Luke, maybe you'll even make the drive up for a Scot, Mendenhall and Friends group ride. We got one on June 2nd, and then every first Sunday for the rest of the summer. It's super fun. So I'm going to say bye to you, Luke. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thanks all for joining us today. It was so fun. Thank you, Garrett and the crew, for helping me with my mic issues. I've never been at Scott's desk before. I'm going to give it back to him happily when he gets back. So we'll see you guys next week for Onewheel Wednesday. The whole entire crew will be back, and we'll be celebrating being together again. Love you guys. Bye.